Good evening, Vancouver. Welcome back to Canucks After Dark. It is March 24th, and for once, we're coming to you right after, not right after, 3 hours after a Canucks win. It's been a lot of weeks lately that we've been doing sort of shows right after games where the Canucks will win 2 out of the 3 games in a week, and we're right after the 1 loss. So it's nice to be here after a win, even though there were 2 losses earlier in the past week. But a big win over New Jersey, another team fighting for a playoff spot after a tough loss to the Rangers that the Canucks deserve better in, and a loss to the Blues that was interesting. Yeah, very interesting, tight games over the last week. Nothing, nothing obvious until the final seconds of each game. But as always, joined by my co-host to talk all about it. Clay, how are we doing today?
I'm good, Parker. I'm really good. I'm always good when the Canucks win. You're right. All 3 games so far have been kind of like dull chess match type first 2 periods, and then explosions. That's all I can say. Explosions in the 3rd period. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. The Canucks have really been playing their style, let's say, right, of low event hockey. Games that they've been in, the entire time. But yeah, a bit of a twist where every single game comes down to the wire of them losing, and then finding a way back in it to some extent, right? Whether it's against the Blues, where it's a goal with 2.5 seconds to go, tonight with a goal with 30-something seconds to go. And then the Rangers, where they scored late-ish in the 3rd, right? 5 minutes left to tie it.
They left too much time, I think. Yeah.
Well, they way too much time because they allowed a goal 37 seconds later. So they should have scored with 3 seconds again. But no, look, a weird week for the Canucks. They end up going 1-1-1 over the 3 games. So really, from a sole Canucks perspective, they don't give up a ton of ground, except you look at the other teams in this race, and really the one other team that it's come down to, well, 2 other teams, right? You've got Calgary and you've got St. Louis. Those are really the only two teams left. Utah's sort of fallen out. They're 3 points back of us right now and 6 points out. But you look at what the Blues have been doing, and I mean, the Flames have won 3 in a row, but 6 wins in a row for St. Louis, including that critical one against the Canucks, where you're happy to get a point. But we talked last week at length about the upcoming schedules, and we talked about how the Canucks have one of the toughest, and they do, and how St. Louis has one of the easiest. And boy, they've been taking advantage.
It's just strange, right? The fact that we lose in regulation to New York, the Rangers, a lot worse team, at least standings wise, than the Devils. I know the Devils were shorthanded. They're missing a couple key guys, but for us to beat, and who cares, right? Who cares if we give New Jersey a point? It's not going to affect us in the playoff race. But just kind of funny how it works, where if you look at both games independently, you'd think we'd have more trouble against New Jersey, at least in theory, than the Rangers. So I'll say this, Parker. I know we're going to get into the games, and we're going to talk about great performances, injuries, all that kind of stuff, returns. But am I a bad fan, Parker, if I say to you, I would actually rather the Canucks lose? This is so bad. I can't believe I'm saying this, but there's a part of me that says I'd rather, if they're not going to make the playoffs, ultimately, I'd rather know sooner than later than this angst of hanging on. And you called it. The Canucks are still alive barely. Like, it's just the image of hanging on by a thread, only for the last week us to lose in some inexplicable way and then not make the playoffs. I can't believe I'm saying this, might want it to happen sooner. So I just kind of know. Is that wrong?
It's tough because you look at everything, you look at where the Canucks are at right now, right? Okay. 11 games to play. They need to catch either Minnesota or St. Louis. Minnesota, you're probably not catching. They're 7 points ahead. So they would need to really collapse, and you need to go in a heater. So you look at one half of it is catching St. Louis. You have a game in hand, and they're 3 points ahead. On paper, that you just say that part, it sounds fairly reasonable. But then you take into account the situation where the Blues are hottest team in the league right now. Since the Four Nations break, they've won more games than anybody. They have a goaltender who the Four Nations break really helped. Binnington has been on a heater ever since. And they have the easiest schedule to go for the rest of the season. Right. And you look at the Canucks, you look at their schedule. I think it was the 9th hardest the rest of the way. The average team they're playing against is like a .580 record, which is a playoff. The average team they're playing is a playoff team the rest of the way out. So from that perspective, it makes it tough. Add on to that the fact that you also have Calgary in the mix as well, right? They've won 3 in a row. And really, even if you catch the Blues, who's to say that the Flames don't also go on a heater to steal that spot out from under you? So from a statistical perspective, even if you said these 3 teams all have the same odds to make it, then you're at best 1 in 3. If you take into account no Pettersson, no Hoglander, and the Blues having the easiest schedule, you get worse than 1 in 3. I think Money Puck is close to 17. I don't love Money Puck often. They're usually, their numbers are always a little bit off, I find. But even either way, like you're probably maybe the best odds you're going to get around 25-30%. And that's a tough place to be.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's funny, on my shows, Parker, people would ask, there's obviously you can't just say the bar is at 97 points or 95 points or 92 points. But I would always do mine based on I would take the 8th best points percentage team, right? The team that by points percentage you think would make the playoffs, and extrapolate that times 82 times 2, right? And then you get a number. But it's funny, even that number, because of St. Louis, it's gone from 89 to 90 to 91 to 92 because St. Louis keeps winning. It's who knows? Yeah, but you're right. 11 games left. We probably got to get at least 14 points. Out of those 11 games. So 3 games over 500. Yeah. Yeah.
Right now the bar would be 92.25.
Okay.
So with St. Louis's schedule, I think you probably should round up to 93.
I agree.
So 15 points in 11 games, bare minimum. It gets a little bit tighter every week, right? Because last week we said a similar number, overall, like points per game wise. But they got 3 points out of 3 games, which is less than the pace of 15 points in 11 games or whatever the number was last week. Maybe it was 19 and 14, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So it gets tighter and tighter and tighter unless you get on a streak. Now, the Canucks have a chance here. We're looking just ahead to this week, and we'll circle back on this towards the end of the show. We'll talk about the week ahead. But Islanders, Blue Jackets are their 2 next games here in the road trip, and then Winnipeg, who they did just beat, but
we destroyed them. I'm just kidding.
Statistically, that's gonna be a harder game. So we'll come back to the future here and what the next few games holds shortly. But I think we should recap a couple of games.
Let's do it.
Are we gonna do our starting from now because the game was today, or do we want to go all the way back in time, take us through the sort of progression of the week? Because there was a lot that happened, I would say.
Well, I will suggest we talk about tonight first because it's so fresh, and then I'll leave it up to you if you want to go truly backwards or then go to the front. I mean, go to the back and then catch up again. But I think we should start with tonight's game because we can talk about it. Yeah,
sounds good. Yeah, second game against the Devils and final game against the Devils this year. Their first meeting, October 30th, the Devils won 6-0. Luckily for the Canucks, this one did not go that way. And like we said off the top, very typical Rick Tocchet Canucks game, right? Shots 7-5 New Jersey after 1, 6-5 Vancouver in the second. So after 2 periods, shots were 12-11. It's low event. It's exactly what we expect. So let's dive into this one. It starts off first period. Obviously, we should start with the big one. Thatcher Demko back in this game. Friedman sort of teased it yesterday. He said there was a possibility. And then it got announced a couple hours before the game that Thatcher Demko would be playing. This surprise you?
No. Even the way that Tocchet spoke yesterday after was yesterday a travel day? I can't remember. He talked yesterday, I remember him saying that Demko's skated for 3 straight practices. He looks good, and he basically said he was ready. And then you couple that, Parker, with the fact that Lankinen looked a little bit shaky against the Rangers, and you don't blame him. He's played 10 out of 11. That's crazy. So I was not surprised at all. I was just hoping they weren't rushing him for the sake of rushing him. Right. Yeah. Last chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah. It really did it felt a little desperate. Right. Yeah. But the results worked. He was good tonight. Obviously there's the save in OT, but the Devils had a lot of pretty dangerous feeling chances. Yeah. And really the numbers back that up, right? In all situations in this game, expected goals, even though there was only, New Jersey only had 25 shots, they were expected to score 3.18 goals in this game in all situations. So Demko technically 0.18 goals saved above expected. So it was a positive night for him. yeah, we'll start off with the first period. Pius Suter, who is our number one center at the moment, with Elias Pettersson being out. And I saw this theory online that maybe when Petterssons are out, their powers combine into the other Petterssons, because no Elias, no Elias in the lineup tonight. But Marcus Pettersson, off this sweet face-off win by Pius Suter in the offensive zone, right after a commercial break, 10 minutes to go in the first, he just takes the puck down the wing. The Devils give him a lane to skate down. So he takes that lane, goes into the corner. Pius Suter just bumps from the corner, finds a little bit of open space. He's got a guy on his back, but he gets a good shot off, beats Markstrom. It's a quick pass. It's a quick shot. It's 21 goals for Pius Suter this year. He's going to get paid next year.
Yeah. And probably not by the Canucks, but who knows? Marcus Pettersson, I love what you said about the theory about channeling all the Pettersson energy. I didn't know he had that in him, Parker. Like I actually had to look to see who that was. I thought it was like Hedl if he was like healthy. Because he just bombed down the left side and a beautiful pass, like right on the tape.
Yeah, Marcus Pettersson has been a fantastic addition so far.
Yeah,
Getting a little sidetracked here, but since they've added him, the Canucks have the best penalty kill in the league.
That's pretty impressive.
I think they've killed, I don't remember the exact numbers, but they've killed off a ton in a row, at least until the second period of this game. But their penalty kill has been fantastic. He's been a big part of that, and he's been really good. Canucks get out of this first period with the lead. Like we said, low event. Shots were 7-5. Devils had just 2 high danger chances in the first period. Demko was solid. He was getting in the way of pucks. They were really testing him though. Like they took a lot of like weird sharp angle shots in the first, like just trying to develop something. And you're against a goalie who has only started 17 games coming into this one all year. Not a bad idea to just throw a few on net.
Yep. Yeah. And he looked good. And without being facetious, I'm glad he escaped the first period, because remember, that's when he exited. After he pulled himself out to the first period in the Toronto game, way back on February 8th. So that was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the second period, Devils did get one back on a power play. I thought this was a pretty bad penalty call on Bluger. He got a tripping call for he reached around, got stick on puck, and like the shaft of his stick was kind of like hit the defender's like knee/thigh, but it was all puck. I thought it was pretty weak, but the Devils did tie the game up here. It's a nice little move by Bratt down the left wing, plays it to Mercer in the middle. It's pretty well covered, and then Mercer just plays it along to the far post for Meier, and he scored.
Yeah, and I watched this because I did my goal breakdown. Unfortunately, Meier's first shot actually goes off the heel of his stick, and it goes off of O'Connor's skate.
Yeah,
but right back to Meier, and then Demko's sliding. O'Connor's like doesn't know where the puck is, and Meier does, and it was a really good goal scorer. So he's got 21 goals now too. Same as Suter.
Yeah, he's been great. Bratt's up to 62 assists, which is crazy. He's Devils all-time assist leader in a season.
Wow.
Third period, this one hurt. Meier gets another one just after the 10-minute commercial. It's not great for the Canucks here. It's a skate down the left wing, just a play to the middle where I don't know who 5 is, that Mercer. Mercer should never, it's a 3-on-2, but the 2 Canucks both sort of get sucked in. Mercer gets a pretty good look, fans on it, and it goes wide, and just a bounce that Demko can't get to. It's right off the wall. Meier, heck of an angle to shoot this from. He's on the goal line, fires it just inside the far post. And it feels like it's slipping away, doesn't it?
Totally. And when I saw that, I was wondering why Hughes shaded over it, because it was the exact same thing that Myers did for Hughes. Remember in the last game, and then it went off of Myers and it goes to. But then it was actually Brendan Dillon who took the point shot. I actually think that Hughes wasn't worried about Dillon, because he actually makes it back to him. It's actually Aturatu who doesn't pick up Meier, and it was a weird bounce, right? Like you can't anticipate the puck coming off that angle. And you're right, Meier did a really good shot from a tough angle, but he's a goal scorer that now he has 22.
However, didn't last long. Canucks get it right back a few seconds later. This is a weird one because Niels Oman on sort of the left point passes it down to Derek Forbert, which is odd. But Lekkerimaki just sneaks in. They've got this sort of, diamondy pentagon shape going on the Devils here, right? Sort of like a 1-2-1 almost, or a 2-2-1. But Lekkerimäki just sneaks into the soft spot between the second set of twos, and just gets the pass and fires it far side, sort of sneaks under Markstrom. That's a hard shot to get off. Like, just looking at sort of the angle he has to get that at, taking the pass from, like, as a right-handed shot, taking it from the left corner and having to get it and receive it and get any power on that. Because you just think of the angle it's coming in and coming off. It's like a 90-degree angle. It's a tough shot, but he's got a heck of a release.
Do you think Markstrom was screened by Karlsson in the slot there? Or do you think he had a look? I couldn't tell.
Those are tough. I mean, it's also any play coming from below the goal line to in front of the goal line is just so hard for a goalie, right? Because they have no idea, as Markstrom's looking down in this corner at Forbort, he doesn't know where the people in front are, right? He probably knows there's one guy right in front, but the last time he was looking there was not a guy where Lekkerimäki is. And it's just a quick release. He probably couldn't see it very well. And it snuck through, and we're all square too.
But isn't it funny how Pettersson makes Marcus makes a very unexpected pass? And if that was unexpected, then I don't know what you call this. Like, hey, why is Derek Forbort below the goal line?
It's weird. I mean, it's the right place to be, right? Because he did end up down there off of because he skated down the right wing trying to score, right?
Yeah,
At the start of that play, he took a little, he swapped spots with Lekkerimäki for a little cycle, tried a sharp angle shot, was almost worked, right? Like, Oman couldn't get that, couldn't reach that rebound. But he could have scored there too. And I mean, it was a good coverage. Oman came up and Forbort stayed in that right spot.
Nice. Forbort with the pass from the Mitch Marner spot from the Four Nations face-off.
Right. Absolutely.
Very good.
Again, short-lived. Eric Haula gets the lead back for New Jersey. This one's frustrating. It's right off the face-off. It's a one draw. It's a long shot from the point, and it's just soft defense. The Canucks have, no one covering Haula. He was the center on this face-off too. That should be the center's guy, right?
So Blueger's supposed to track him the whole way?
He should, yeah. Because if you think about where the defense have to go, right? Especially the face-offs one that way. So the right shot D-man has to, stay on that side, essentially. And then the other D-man has to cover the right winger who's going to try to go backdoor or try to go to the net. The centerman is really, Bluger's job isn't to go to the point, which he doesn't, right? It's the two wingers who should be covering the point. But Bluger needs to pick that guy up. He got through, finds the rebound, jams it on the backhand. And again, feels like it's just like, man, it's just not going to go their way.
Yeah, could have been the backbreaker for sure. And that's, I know Forbort. I remember the highlight. Forbort and Joshua were just out of their reach. So all three of them were there technically. But good goal. Good goal by Haula.
Yeah, it was a nice one. Canucks pull the goalie as they have the last three games, turning into a bit of a pattern. This is just so Quinn Hughes had already played so much. Like, they were even talking about it on the broadcast. Like, he had just been off for like 15 seconds, got right back on. No breaks for him. They obviously took a timeout, so we got a little bit of rest.
Those prime broadcasters love him, eh? They talk about him the entire game.
They did. Yeah, that part was great. Some of the other parts, maybe not so much. He called Ratu Rutu a lot. What was the other one? Oh, they spent the entire first period trying to figure out if it was Jesper or Jesper Bratt.
Yep.
The entire first period. I don't know how many times it came up. The color guy was in on it. The analyst desk was in on it. It was a little silly, and
the lady in the enrichment, I don't mind her actually. I had to look her up. I think she was a college player, but I've never heard someone call it the C1, not the 1C, right? The first line center. Weird. Yeah, she kept calling, and it wasn't brutal, but it was just she's very confident. She asked Patrick Alvin, "What does it mean when you lose your C1 in Pettersson?" And now, Pius Suter is playing C1. It just sounded so weird. Sorry,
there were some weird Americanisms, I think, because he called a lot of poke checks, sweep checks. Yeah, there was a lot of weird things, but we're getting sidetracked. This play from Quinn Hughes, because he's just played like 2 of the last 3 minutes. This puck comes back to him on the wall. It's a super innocuous play. Besser just lets it go back to him, and he's got the winger coming up towards him pretty slow, and Quinn Hughes just slowly pulls this off the wall. There's no rush. There's no panic. He pulls it off the wall, and this whole time, there's a spot where he pulls it off the wall to his forehand, and he's still looking down the wall. And it looks like he's just going to pass it to Besser. He's going to bank it off the wall to Besser's forehand. And then he takes one little half stride to the left, pulls the defender just slightly over, and then immediately pivots back to skating forward and just burns him to the middle. And within 2 seconds, he's gone from like a slight half step backwards, which literally just looks like he's trying to pull this defender off the wall to play it down to Besser. And he immediately is skated, and he's got about 8 feet of separation. And he's in the middle of the ice with a shooting lane. The winger's gone. It's so smooth and so quick, and it just creates this play because now there's just a wide open shooting lane with a screen in front and a defender kind of screening in front as well. And you have Markstrom looking over. It's just, it's such a good play. Honestly, here, Hughes, I want to see a pass to Garland here. I know he loves shooting when he's in the situation. He has Garland wide open back door. Just fires at the net, though. It's a jam. DeBrusk jams, Suter jams. Everyone goes for it. Garland, sweeps from behind, which he does so often. It was DeBrusk's goal, or it was Suter's goal. No, it was DeBrusk's goal, and it was Suter's goal, and now apparently it's Garland's goal. So it's gone to everybody. Suter and DeBrusk apparently both touched it because Hughes doesn't even get a point on this goal. Right. But with 35 seconds to go, they pull it even and stole a point.
That's such a good point, Parker, about, and I don't think we've had a show. Yeah, no, obviously we haven't had a show together, but I know I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it. I really noticed in the St. Louis game how I would never ever call Quinn Hughes selfish, but you can tell he wants so badly to win, and he knows that he's the biggest factor, right? So he will, and sometimes like the overtime rush he did, that was amazing if he just put it in. So 98% of the time it works, but in the St. Louis game, which we'll get to, I actually think it was a detriment to the team. But today, you're right. I saw the same thing about Conor Garland being wide open, but then I can't remember a time where Quinn Hughes has actually passed when he has an opportunity to shoot, honestly, in the past 2 weeks. Can you?
No, I honestly, I get the feeling that Tocchet probably just told him, like, hey, you are the most dynamic player on the ice. Like, go create stuff. Like, and it's, I had the same thought in the last couple of games too. It's like, it's been a little bit detrimental, where it feels like he's just, and I don't blame the guy. He's trying to do it all himself because he just wants to get back in the playoffs, right? He's trying to will this team, and he's hurt, and it's unbelievable. But I wonder if he's just like, I'm just going to start ripping pucks, and maybe he got told to, just, go create something. And it worked.
Yeah, it did indeed. And good point. I think the commentator thought it was Garland, and then so I was surprised when they gave it to Suter. Did they actually say DeBrusk too? Is that what you're saying on the? Yeah,
well, DeBrusk celebrated like he scored. Because he did get his stick on it, clearly, right? All three of them got their stick on it within a quarter of a second, apparently, because they all got points. So all three of them thought that they had scored, which is just great.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, OT. Then the first great chances by New Jersey. Did you hear Hughes's post game?
No, I didn't.
So he says, great game by Demko, and typical me, I played that 2-on-1 like and he said SHIT.
It's great.
I love that. And all the interviewers, journalists started laughing.
I mean, look, that 2-on-1, that save was fantastic. Cotter got there, got a good shot off. I also loved Hughes right away tried to dig it out of Demko.
Yes.
He made the save. Hughes took a second, looked, realized that there was no Devils there. He's like, wait, give me the puck. Like we can just take possession, which I thought, was smart. It was great. But for Demko, he was like, what the heck, man? I might be injured again. Who knows?
I can't move.
Do you see how long it took him to get up? That was concerning. I could clearly tell he was just like taking a breath and breathing a sigh of relief. But I was like,
and his legs did this. Okay. Yeah, his legs did something that I don't think I can even do. Like, it was just ridiculous.
I sure can. Unbelievable save. Frankly, a pretty good OT. Shots were 4-3 New Jersey, but like good chances both directions. A good rush by Hughes. Besser had a good chance, and I didn't like Besser on the rebound. He tried to pass instead of just getting the puck back.
Yes.
That was my one gripe in that OT because it did give up. I think it gave up that 2-on-1, didn't it? Which I didn't love. Other than that, it was fun. It was a fun OT, and we go to a shootout where the Canucks have been pretty good lately. Paul Cotter got stopped by Demko, which was great. Jake DeBrusk just ripped one past Markstrom. And then it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you just got to hang on. And of course, Bratt, really nice move. Really
That was
nice goal.
sick. Oh,
It was,
that was
yeah,
so
he's
good.
so talented. Garland gets stopped. Meyer gets stopped. So Pius Suter has a chance to win it. He can't score. Luke Hughes gets stopped. And my immediate thought is put Quinn out there to make his brother look bad. But instead they go to Lekkerimaki, who had already scored.
What a shot.
Just ice, man. Like that Pettersson shootout goal last week, right?
Yes.
Where just cold as ice, just go in, get the job done. 2 stick twirls before touching the puck to start. Love it. The confidence there, right? Like you think there should be a little nerves, right? He's like, no, I'm just going to go and do this. This is one of for a shootout goal that someone just came in and took a wrist shot. It's one of the sickest shootout goals. That's just like a shot because he made Markstrom bite so hard. Yeah. And it looked like he skates in, he's looking glove. The beginning of his shot motion, it is all glove. It is all glove. And then he pulls it in like 8 to 10 inches towards his body. And his release is so quick. By the time he releases the puck, when you look at the angle from behind Markstrom after he had bit on the glove, the net's 6 feet wide. He's got about 2 feet to shoot at. Like there's a huge opening. He just rips it past. It was a sick winner.
That's such a good point because when I looked at the replay, he is dead center between the hash marks. So he sets himself up where you're right. Markstrom's in the middle of the net. So technically he could go blocker or blocker, but yeah, half a second later, Markstrom is down because he's bit, and then he has that whole side of the net. It was so good. By the way, about the stick twirl, I'm not sure you saw Demko's interview. One of the broadcasters, said to him, "What do you think of the twirl?" And he goes, "Did he twirl it? Did he twirl it?" And he goes, "Well, before he took the shot." And he goes, "We're still gonna have to talk to him or whatever." That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna try to show this because I think this is like I don't know how well this will work, but if I put it here and I full screen it. And I share screen,
try it.
shares. Ooh, this one. So this is what I'm looking at here because so he comes in, right? And
that's what I was saying, like dead center right there.
Yeah. Markstrom is like, he's lined up to the center of the hash marks back bar. He's lined up perfectly. When just that little part of the release, you get a little lean from Markstrom, and you can see this leg goes in, this leg goes out, and he's already trying to recover. Look at the stick location on Lekkerimaki. Before he releases the puck, it's left of the center bar, right?
Yep.
So it's on that side of the ice. By the time he lets this puck go, it's almost on the hash mark. Yeah. Like he's pulled it a foot over. And look at how much net there is there.
So Parker, explain to me, because you play hockey and I don't, why, like, I know it happens so fast. Why is Markstrom leaning, going down to his right already? Because he thinks what?
It looks like the shot's going over here. Like his eyes are here. His hands at first, right before this frame. Yeah. Like it looks like he's shooting glove all day. And that quick pull in, like even his blade's still a little angled. But by the time it's like, what is he supposed to do here? There's so much to shoot at. Right. He puts it right inside the post.
Gotcha. So Markstrom's thinking glove and then he goes the other way. Yeah. Wow.
It's a great shot.
Beautiful.
Great goal.
That's awesome. Swerve Irvin says, is that one of the greatest eye fakes you've ever seen? Well, I don't really judge eye fakes, but I presume it was pretty good.
It was sweet, man. Like just the quickness of it. Like it's just so skilled, especially on a goalie like Markstrom. That's not, he didn't pull that on, a rookie goalie who's only played, 15 NHL games and has an 850 save percentage. Sorry, Soderblom. It was Jacob Markstrom, right? It's a heck of a goalie. That's awesome to see.
The last time I remember Markstrom blowing up like that and slamming his stick. Do you remember when the Canucks were playing the Rangers or the Blues? The Blues. In overtime 3-on-3, and then Horvat and Myers tripped on each other in the corner, and it became a 3-on-0. Remember? Weren't you at that game?
No.
Oh, okay. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
And then the 3 Blues came in. They're basically playing pass to each other.
1-2-1 back over. Yeah. I kind of get why Markstrom's mad because he got burnt.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of those ones where he's probably like, man, I could have saved that if I didn't bite so hard on that fake. No, it's awesome. Awesome to see.
Loved it. Very good.
All right. So Canucks steal 2 points, 40 seconds left in that game. Didn't feel like they were going to get anything.
Yeah.
But they get that win. We can go back a couple of days.
Sure.
Frankly, Saturday morning, the big Miller versus Pettersson thing. Of course, Pettersson gets taken out by Adam Fox of all people. So that's no fun. The Canucks absolutely dominated this hockey game. There's nothing else to it. Like I honestly, we don't even need to spend a bunch of time on it because the Canucks were by far the better team. Shots 39-12. And it wasn't hey, we're down 5-1. We're going to get all the shots because the other team's going to sit in the shell. No, 11-1 in the first, 13-5 in the second, 15-6 in the third. So they dominated the entire game. Money Puck had the Canucks simulated to win 96% of the time. In all situations, high danger chances were 18-4. Expected goals 3.93 to less than 2. Yeah. Shot attempts 68-36. You look at the heat maps, everything the Canucks did was from the slot too. Like it was all dominant. We get a nice Dakota Joshua goal to start this game. Yeah. But it's one of those ones you have 11, your shots 11-1 the first period and they outshot the Rangers pretty hard in the second period to start too. And, you're still only up by 1 and it just takes one shot to go the other way. And I think the second shot of the game for the Rangers, or like the third or the fourth, like it was pretty early, might've been the fourth. And it's just a long shot that gets tipped in like really high in, like it's an early tip, which is hard, right? It's tipped sort of at the faceoff dot that gets through, and not much for a goalie to do on a tip, but you sort of got the feeling that, this is a game that the Canucks were sort of running away with, but Shesterkin wasn't letting anything by.
Yeah. By the way, Asian goalie, I really appreciate this. Speaking from a goalie perspective, Markstrom was likely guessing 5-0. That's why he put his right leg in and left the blocker side open. But great goal overall. No, thank you for that. I would know nothing about that kind of stuff, so we appreciate that. Parker, we don't have to go goal by goal. You just did actually a pretty good job of saying what we had to say about this game. This game was so frustrating though, because I truly felt I was not in a bad mood, but I really felt, because that day is the day that St. Louis, Utah, and Calgary all won. I really thought that, and maybe the Canucks are still there, that their playoff chances took a huge, almost like a irrecoverable dent that day, because not only should they have won, outshooting them 39-12, Sherwood sets a season single mark for hits. Hughes hits 400 points. So all these good stories, things, but then you look at the bad stories. Then Hoglander and Pettersson don't even come out for the third. So and Lankinen gives up 4 goals on 12 shots. Or 11 shots. So it was a really rough one for Canucks fans, and I really felt it just in seeing what the people in X and just talking to people. So that's why today was such a nice change or contrast to that. But it doesn't take away the fact that another 2 points that we should have had.
This should have been like the start of the big like late season playoff push, right? Yeah. Everything lined up for it. Sherwood sets the record in hits. Not only that, he gets 12, right? Yeah. Not only that, Quinn Hughes gets 9 shots in this game. Jake DeBrusk had 8 shots in this game, right? Yeah. The guys stepped up. Pettersson only played 8 minutes, but he won almost every faceoff in those 8 minutes, right? Everyone genuinely played really good. You had another late Besser goal. You had, Drew O'Connor getting involved. Everything should have gone the Canucks' way, but the goaltending difference was the problem, right? Victor Mancini getting a point against his former team. Awesome. Yep. You would have looked at this game and been like, yep, the Canucks absolutely dominated a team that's in the exact same situation as them on the other side. And that's what started their push for the playoffs. And they got goalied.
Yep. No, you're right. They did. And that's, and then we can go backwards one more, but on the tail end of the loss to St. Louis, it just felt like a bunch of factors, or just a bunch of stuff happened to them on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. We can go back to that Thursday game against St. Louis.
Yeah.
Frankly, Canucks didn't do a lot, right? 18 shots in this hockey game. And they decided to make it interesting. They go into the third period down a goal. Kiefer Sherwood gets one to tie it. Sick goal, right? I think he was just from the far circle, just ripped it. Sick. Brock Besser gets the 200th of his career in this game. Again, wrister from the right, rips it. But then they give up 2 quick goals right after that to Tucker and Holloway, and suddenly they're trailing, and they're trying so hard to get that last goal. And, this last clear that St. Louis gets with about 12 seconds left, game just feels over, right? Yeah, they got it out of the zone. Hughes pivots at center ice, makes this extra move, right? And you're like, oh man, like you just got to get the puck back in. Perfect move. Gets a little bit of separation, finds Pettersson on the line, and Brock Besser just gets lost. 7 seconds to go, and Pettersson's able to just throw it across far side.
From PD, it goes through 3 guys, like not right through 3 guys, but 3. It went through the middle.
It goes through one guy, and then there's 2 guys right there. Like you can't even see Pettersson in the.
Yes.
Like when this puck got moved out to Pettersson, I was like, oh, we just dumped it in and we lost.
Yeah.
But no, Pettersson was there, fired it across to Besser, and I love this, man. Just steps into one, doesn't try to wrist it. He just knows my best shot is I just gotta fire one. Yeah. Everyone thinks this is going far side. Everyone in the world thinks it's far post. Binnington's way out to challenge. He plays it well, and it's under the arm. It's such a sick goal. Like, again, if the Canucks come back to win this game, this is like, it's Nashville last year, right? Yeah. Was it game 4? It's the exact same feeling where they just, ripped a clapper, tied it up, and then, go and win in overtime. They did lose in overtime, but for a game that was built up as being like, hey, if a team wins this game in regulation, like they're going to get a big edge. It's bigger that the Canucks got that point, right? They at least made it so it was only a 1-point game. It wasn't a 4-point game. I guess it's kind of a 2-point game in that case, but like it's a huge point that the Canucks got in that one. And Brock Besser was like for how invisible Besser has been over the past however many weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. Heck of a week for Besser. He's got coming into this one, he had 5 goals in 3 games or something dumb. He's been excellent.
It's almost like he pulled a personal tank job so he didn't get traded. Like he basically played down his worth.
It probably cost himself a lot of money.
I know. That's why I'm sure he didn't do this on purpose, but it sure seems like it. And then 5 goals in 3 games, and who knows, and his value's going back up. But speaking of Besser, so did you watch this game live on Thursday night?
Yep.
Yeah. So the Canucks 3 times couldn't get it over the blue line in overtime, leading to the game winner. Like it was DeBrusk, it was Besser, and it was Hughes. And it was PD. It was DeBrusk and not Besser, PD, DeBrusk, and Hughes. And they 3 times they couldn't get it over the line. One time PD got foiled. Another time DeBrusk thought he was going to do a give and go with Hughes. And the third one, PD fumbled it, and DeBrusk goes for an early line change. And it's a 2-on-1 with Besser, not the most fleet of foot, trying to catch up after jumping off the boards.
It was a frustrating one. It was a frustrating one. I was less frustrated at the end of that game. I was sort of like, oh, and of course, it was like, oh, of course, but it wasn't like a, hey, we blew it, because that goal was huge late in the third.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Wow. And then we got like a minute to talk about the Winnipeg game.
We'd already talked about that one, didn't we?
No, we just said they beat them 6-2. That's it.
I thought we did.
No, we did. We started and we've just gone backwards.
I just knew they played every other day, so I just assumed it would be 3. Sweet. The Canucks had a good week then, eh?
Yeah. They were actually 2-1-1.
Sweet. No, this was no, we definitely did a show last Tuesday.
No, we went back to Monday last week.
I feel like I've talked about this game though. I'm so thrown off right now.
Unless I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure we did Monday last week because we made a big deal of going back to Monday.
I think you're right. You are right. I just feel like I've talked about this game, but I don't remember with who.
Well, that's fine.
Okay. Well,
maybe you're moonlighting. Maybe you have another podcast you haven't told me about. No,
my secret. My secret podcast. Canucks Jets. 6 goals. I don't remember this one super in depth. I mean, Besser scored 2. He had the one little tap 5 hole on the power play. That was not the power play one. That was just that was the second one where we just sort of like poked it through. But also had the tip goal in the first. Pius Suter scored 2 in this game too. including an empty netter. This was a weird game where Hellebuck just got lit up. Like he just struggled. That goal late in the first was huge by Hoglander to
beautiful.
3 seconds left, where a lot of teams are just sitting back and taking a 2-1 lead into the period. But like they have the puck in their own zone with 7 seconds on the clock. Pass it up, quick up. Pettersson, little give and go, fires it to Hoglander, or Besser fires it to Hoglander for the tap in. Sweet little quick play. And the Canucks just sort of cruised to victory in this one.
So what's funny is, so we did our show on Monday after we recapped, obviously, them beating Chicago 6-2, losing to Utah 3-1, which was a joke. And
Maybe
then
that was
again,
why I was confused. The 6-2 over Chicago. We don't win 6-2 a lot, but twice in 3 days is.
That's exactly that was going to be my point. Yeah. So 2 of our wins were 6-2 wins, and they were like, okay, add that to the 4-3. We're laughing, and then that's why the St. Louis game was so frustrating. But I like your attitude at getting that point with 3 seconds left. That's true. Then the Rangers game is a game we should have won, and then we did win today. So maybe it's not all doom and gloom. Maybe I should take a step back, and because I know I started the show a little negative, saying why don't they just kind of put us out of our misery? But I still think it's a big uphill climb, but you're right. The Islanders and Columbus are winnable games for sure. Well,
that's the tough part is the Canucks went 2-1 this week, which is sort of the pace they needed to go, right? Or a little better. But the one of those losses being to St. Louis, right, is big. And then St. Louis had this excellent week. So last week we were talking about how the Canucks had a 30% chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. Money Puck has them down at 18. As of tonight, right? And it makes sense, right? For all the reasons that we talked about earlier, and it's because St. Louis went on a heater. Calgary's still at the same level they were at last week. Utah has dropped a ton. We've dropped a good bit, and St. Louis has increased a bunch. And that's just how she goes.
Boo! So who plays tomorrow? Does everyone else probably except us?
I would assume so, being a Tuesday. We've got St. Louis at home against the Habs. So we are big Habs fans tomorrow.
Go Habs.
We're not worried about Utah anymore. Calgary and Seattle play. So again, a pretty easy matchup for them. So we need to be Seattle and Montreal fans tomorrow.
Okay. We can do it. I'm also a fan of Coach Rob. He gives 5 memberships. They go to Victor, Knuckleback, BC Beasley, 7-6, and pink sunglasses. Awesome. Thank you. Welcome everyone, and thank you, Coach Rob. That's awesome.
Excellent.
Wow. Okay. I guess we should spend. So good job. We didn't. We kind of went in descending time order. So we spent like 15 minutes on tonight's game, then 5, then 3, then 1, which is fine.
Perfect.
The biggest story, I guess, is we saw Lekkerimäki and Ratu and Carlson, all these guys in the lineup tonight, because no Hedel and now no Petey and no Hoglander. So we don't know how long, but we know that they were sent home from the trip. So that means they're not playing until at least next week. That's not good.
Yeah. When you go into a game and you have what really looks like a bunch of third and fourth line centers, right? Your center depth is Puce Suter 1C. And hey, he lived up to it tonight.
He did.
Teddy Bluger. That's why we say he can play anywhere. And that's what we need him right now. Teddy Bluger 2C, Niels Oman 3C, Atu Ratu 4C. It's pretty bleak. And they still found a way to get the win, right? Now our defense looks pretty good at the moment. But yeah, the forward group is hurting, right? No Hoglander. Lekkerimäki, I'm fine with him as sort of a slot in, right? They put him right up to the second line, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, not having Pettersson is obviously huge, right? That makes a big difference in these line combos, and they're not going to have him for the rest of the road trip, right? That's 3 more games without him. Now, in theory, if he was well enough to play against Winnipeg, it's a short flight. So, that's, I would say, definitely out against the Islanders and Blue Jackets for both of them. In theory, they could play against Winnipeg, but based on, we don't really know what the injuries are. Pettersson, I've heard theories that it's a rib injury based on the cross check that I got from Adam Fox. And if that's the case, you're probably more than a week that you're out. So it's a really tough spot to be here.
I missed that, Parker. Was that Fox cross check to the ribs? Was that during the faceoff that they keep showing, or was that a different play?
I don't remember the exact time. I just was reading it.
Yeah. Okay. What's crazy is I tweeted out, that whole thing about Suter, Bluger, Aman, and Ratu. And I said in Horvat's last game in here in January in 2023, our centers, as you know, were PD, Miller, Horvat. Guess who the fourth line center was that game? It's a tough one. Like,
oh boy,
January 2023.
Oh, that is tough.
It's very tough.
Is it a good center? Or?
No, he's a fourth line center. So they're actually saying our fourth line center today was better.
Oh boy, then I don't know.
Sheldon Dries.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got there.
But PD, Miller, and Horvat, obviously, like we've gone around and talked about the lack of center depth. Although Suter played admirably, is pretty crazy how much has fallen in just 2 years and 2 months. It's nuts.
Yeah, what did our defense look like that game though?
That's actually a good point.
I bet it was atrocious.
You know, I can look that up in like 2 seconds. So while drag the puck for a minute, maybe Swerve and Irvin, whatever. Yeah, let me look it up.
Sounds good. Juho Lammikko. Yeah, I mean, like the defense now, right? Like Hughes and Hronek together was kind of interesting to me tonight. I'm surprised that it wasn't Hughes Myers because they've been good, and Hronek can show he can drive his own line. And man, Marcus Pettersson's been good, but like Forbert's had a really good week. Mancini's looked pretty good. Yeah, like this group of six. You put that on a contender and I wouldn't have a problem with it at all.
Okay. You ready for the D?
Yep.
I don't know the pairings, but the defensemen were Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, good start.
Ethan Bear.
Okay.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Tyler Myers. Luke Shen. And a guy that I totally forgot we had, Riley Stillman.
Yeah. So our defense is a little bit better today.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And our goaltender was right? Colin Delia.
Right. So if Pettersson and Hedl are healthy, then your center depth is quite a bit worse, but your defense is a lot better. Your goaltending is a lot better. So it makes sense.
Yeah. I love it. Swerve and Irvin. That was funny. C1, C2, C3, C4. Going on that joke about the C1. And thank you, Swerve and Irvin, for proclaiming your membership for 4 months. That is awesome. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that's a really good point. Yeah. You can't just you're right. I cannot just make a crack about our lack of center depth without acknowledging that our D and goaltending is way better now. So that is totally fair.
Excellent. All right. Anything else we need to cover here? 4 games. I mean, there's 3. We can preview the 3 and then we go to the people.
Perfect.
All right. So, like we said, Canucks play every other day for a bit here, I guess until the end of this week, till they come back from their road trip. Yeah. And really looking at this calendar, like the Canucks' next 5 games, you got to win 4 of them. It's really that simple looking at the calendar here. Right. Because they have 4 really beatable opponents and then Winnipeg, who they did just beat. Wednesday, 4:30, no travel. They're playing in New York against the Islanders. The Islanders have been fine. You know, they're fighting for that wild card spot, right? They're a point out right now to the Habs, actually. They lost to the Blue Jackets in a shootout today. They lost to the Flames in OT the other day. They've been in a lot of just tight 4-2, 4-3 games. Literally their last 5 games have all been 4-2 or 4-3. So they're a beatable team, man. That's one of those ones where if you want to make the playoffs, you have to beat them. They're going to be just as desperate.
Yeah.
Friday,
they're basically us. Yeah. They're the first spot out of the wild card. Yeah.
Friday, the Canucks go into Columbus. Columbus was obviously a fantastic story coming into the year. They have collapsed lately. 2 in their last 10 they've won. They are still only 2 points out of a playoff spot. So again, desperate, right? Like this is a team that really wants to win, really needs to win. They just beat the Islanders today, like I just said. But they've just lost to the Penguins, Florida, New Jersey, the Rangers, Vegas, and the Devils all in a row. So they lost 6 straight and really hurt their playoff position. So, a team that's hurting, but a team that is going to want to win on Friday. And then the Canucks come nearly home to Winnipeg for a Sunday matinee, 12 o'clock start on Sunday against the Jets. Like we said, they just beat the Jets 6-2. You just have to do the same thing. Maybe get more than like 22 shots. But 6 goals, just do that again and we're fine. But that's the thing, where these are 2 teams that are in basically the same boat as us, and then Winnipeg, who's doing way better. But the Canucks are really, that injury luck is going to make it tough.
Yeah. But you're right. Yeah, Demko's back, and you're totally right about 4 of the 5. So let's say by percentage or expectation, we beat the Islanders and Columbus, we lose to Winnipeg. Yeah, and then we have Seattle and Anaheim next. So you could say that we should expect to win 4 of the 5, and then. Wow, where does that put us? So that's 8 more points. So now that's 84 points. No, sorry, 86 points with 6 games to go. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then you enter the gauntlet. That's why you have to do it, because
Yes.
you enter that gauntlet where 5 of your last 6 games are against good teams, right?
Yes.
Minnesota's, a playoff team. They're the one, like, if you won. You got Vegas, Dallas, Anaheim, Minnesota, San Jose, the easy one, and then Vegas again. So, yeah, if the Canucks aren't in a playoff spot the evening of Saturday, April 5th, they're pretty well done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if they lose 3 of these next 5 games, they're done.
Yeah.
Like these are their best chances to get points. And they really need to build up like a 2-point buffer because who do the Blues have during those last 2 weeks of the season? Pittsburgh, Seattle, Utah, Detroit. They do have Colorado, Winnipeg, and Edmonton all in a row too. Okay. So they could hit a little speed bump there. But there's, until they get there, they have the Habs and the Predators. Like they are in a better spot. And Canucks just have to win a bunch of these games here.
But you're right. I remember you saying this very articulately last week's show, and it's because you anticipated it. It's so true. You said last week's show that by April 5th, we got to be in the playoff spot, and nothing has changed. And since last week's show, we've gotten 5 out of 8 points, which is probably we couldn't get any less than that, right? That's the bare minimum we needed to get to stay alive. 6 or 7 would have been a lot better, but that's where we are. That's where we are.
Yep. And look, there's positives, right? Like the resilience here, right? That's something we haven't seen all year. This team hadn't won a game before last week after trailing after 2.
Right.
And now they have, right? Which is big. The game against the Rangers, they were dominant and just got goalied, right? And that's why having Demko back is so big, because Lankinen's been getting worked. Like he's having to play every game basically. Sure. They gave Shelovs the 1 game on the 15th against Chicago because the one team that he can reliably beat, which is excellent. And now having Demko back, it's like, okay, well, maybe you can play Demko Wednesday, maybe give Lankinen the Friday against Columbus, and then get Demko in there against Winnipeg, and then you have a Vezina caliber matchup on Sunday, and then that's a fun game.
And a game like tonight, and the honorable one, James Moore, he sums up really well. The hustle and heart the Canucks are showing lately has me really respecting the team. I'll be renewing season tickets. That's good, and I hope people rally around the team. We get talk it back and add a bit more talent with our salary cap room. All really good points, James. And I know James, because I know him quite well, he gets mad at Pettersson and Besser like many fans do. But it's kind of like, knowing that we were so shorthanded today, obviously Demko helped, but you just feel really good about what the team accomplished tonight.
There were the last 3 games were all games that the Canucks could have given up on, right? Yeah. Like those were easy games to get down on yourself and just let time run out, right? But tying the game against the Blues with 3 seconds to go, really taking it to the Rangers and getting a goal, that Besser goal to tie it in the 3rd, right? There's some gutsiness there, and then they fell apart. And then obviously tonight, tying it in the last minute again, right? Those points will add up, hopefully, right? That's 2 points. Well, it's really 3 points in those 2 games, St. Louis and New Jersey, that they very well could have not gotten, right?
That's a great
point.
We're
talking about a team that has 75 points, and it is so over.
Yeah.
So it's big.
I know that's not just a good point. That's a good 3 points, because that's your whole point, is that, we might, who knows, we might be sitting in a playoff spot when the season ends by a point, and we're going to look back at those 2 games and says that's what got us in. And I love what you said too. The Besser goal with 3 seconds left against St. Louis, the late heroics, but in other games like tonight with 30 seconds left, it's sure reminiscent of that. Maybe it's because we were so excited to be in the playoffs, but last year's playoff run where with improbable comebacks against, I can't remember which games, but we remember all the games against Nashville and Edmonton. They're late goals, game time goals, overtime goals. It was so fun, man. That's why we so badly want them to make it again.
Yeah, after Besser scored that one against St. Louis late,
Yeah.
I went back and watched the end of Game 4 against Nashville
Yeah.
because that goal that he scored
On the side
late in
there,
that
yeah.
game where the puck they sort of missed it, brought it back in front. It's excellent. So, 11 games to go.
Okay.
11 games to go. Like you said, the Canucks probably need 92, 93 points. So 15 points in those 11 games. So 7-3-1 is sort of where the bar sits right now.
Or 6-2-3.
Knowing this team, yeah. How about can we go 5-1-5?
0-15 or 0-11.
5-1-5 sounds awful.
That's amazing. One regulation loss for the rest of the season.
Yeah, 5-0-6, and this team's in the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a tall
We can
order.
always wish. We can always
Get every
wish.
game to OT.
All right, 5 minutes of the people.
Yeah, absolutely. What do we got?
I got one. I got so many shows. Did I hear that Petey and Hoggy went back to Vancouver after the Rangers game? Sad but true. Yes, they are not available for the rest of unless someone recovers remarkably, and as Parker said, you could get them out to Winnipeg for the last game, but probably not. Probably not.
I mean, if they recovered miraculously, you could get them to New York or Columbus too, right?
That
like
too. Right.
they those players get paid more than the private jet would cost per game. So
right. Would you be comfortable with the Canucks rolling with Shelovs, Demko, and Lankin the rest of the season? Well, they have the cap space to do it.
Yep.
I heard a rumor that I heard a theory on the pregame that if whoever's not playing between Demko and Lankin, you don't even dress them. You keep Shelovs as the backup. You don't send him back to Abbotsford, and just give guys truly the night off and not having to go through even a backup routine. Do you have time for that argument?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. They did it tonight, right? Lankin didn't dress tonight, and it makes a lot of sense. The only way it sucks is if you're in like a 5-5 game and you need to pull your goalie and put the other one in, right? Because then you're going to Shelovs instead of Lankin or Demko. But no, I think that is if you have 3 goalies and you're carrying 3 goalies, it makes a lot of sense, especially when Lankin's been worked a lot.
Sure.
I definitely see it for like a Demko start or 2. The thing is, I think if Demko's going to go on a run here and play a few games, I think you're dressing Lankin in a few of those times, right? I don't think you're just sitting him for a week. So to an extent, I think it's a reasonable move.
It is so early, but do you think Lekkerimäki can be better than Mason Raymond?
I hope so.
Me too.
I mean, he's not going to be as fast. He does. I see why he gives you that vibe to an extent, but Raymond was a speedster. And he had a decent shot, but he wasn't, he didn't have Lekkerimäki's, where his identity is sort of his shot. Right.
Right.
But yeah, Mason Raymond was a speed guy until he broke his back, which, makes it tough to be fast.
No, it's brutal. And then, nor does he have, I guess, well, close. I didn't know that he was a second round pick. I didn't know he was that high, 51st overall. And Lekkerimäki, we know, was obviously whatever he was, 14th or 10th
something around there.
Yeah, something
it's around 10.
If Quinn truly is not long for this team, do you believe the road to contendership is the one thing this team has never fully done? Rebuild. So if Quinn is not for this team, do you think they'll actually do this?
Quinn's not going anywhere. I've watching him tonight.
Yep.
I don't know if it's just me being naive, but man, he wanted to win that game. Yeah. Like he's so determined. I just pay him whatever he wants, keep him here forever.
Yeah, I do. Back up the truck. And Peter, similar question: how much of PD playing elite hockey will be a factor in Quinn staying here long term?
Look, the chat the Quinn Hughes interview from last week, I want to say it was, where he was talking about Pettersson and how they're best friends and they're they sit on the plane together and all that stuff, and PD going, that's my captain, and those two are clearly very close. And I think if Pettersson was playing at 100-point pace this last week or 2 or whatever it was, if that's, and he looked good doing it, he was ripping pucks, he looked great. If that's the Pettersson we get opening night next year, this team will be good, right? That's going to be a big difference maker. I think Quinn wants to play with him. Gosh,
just like our viewers, they string they're so good. They segue into their own questions. So does Pettersson's play recently his recent play and make it less likely he'll be traded in the offseason?
I think there's zero chance he gets traded in the offseason.
Yeah. Yep. Because for the factor of they want him to do well here, we need him, or the fact that he's got no value to justify that.
No, they want to keep him here. I think. I just don't see that being a good move. He's just got the talent still, and he's been off, but it's still there. And I think you'd come to regret that one.
Yeah. You go Demko against the Islanders again?
I think so. I think you give him the Islanders, and then you probably give Lankin and Columbus, and then that way you can give Demko the Jets.
Yeah.
And then they get 2 nights off as they come home.
Yeah.
And then they have a game, and then they have 2 nights off again, and they got a back-to-back.
Yeah. Shannon, it wouldn't make sense. Fair question. It wouldn't make sense to dress 3 goalies because then you have to lose a skater spot. Then you're either short 1 D-man or 1 forward. So
yes, but you can't have 3 on the roster,
right?
Because you can have 23 guys on the roster. So you usually do 14, 7, and 2, but you can only dress 20 for the game. So usually 12 forwards, 60, and 2 goalies. But you could go 11 and 6 and have 3 goalies, but something would have to go wrong. You already had an emergency backup, anyways.
Yeah. Thank you. So how you doing for the $5 donation? I didn't see the game, or Parker and Clay Canucks After Dark is definitely I didn't see the game or Parker and Clay Canucks After Dark. It's definitely been a while. And nice seeing you both and tuning in tonight. Well, thank you. So how you doing? You're welcome to come anytime. And you missed a good game. If you have a chance, I know it was an Amazon Prime game, but at least watch the highlights. It's the goals were nice. The goals were nice tonight for sure. Liquor Magnus especially.
It's a fun one. Stressful one, but a fun one.
You get stressed? Do you actually get stressed when you watch?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it sucks.
But you're just so calm. The couple times I've been in your presence, you're just so a calm guy. I can't picture you stressed.
It's after I have some time to be logical and think a little bit, but watching the game, it's a problem.
Okay. Well, we'll have to watch the game together. I don't get stressed, but as you can imagine, I'm pretty hyper. Sean and I, we just stand 3 feet from the TV. We got all these.
Oh, I do that too.
Yeah. It's so silly. Yeah,
it's great. Makes the picture terrible.
That's true. All right. So are you saying 2-1, 2-0-1, 1-2, 1-1-1?
I'm going to be optimistic because it's really the only option, and it's going to be 2-0-1. That's the best my optimism can do at the moment.
Sure.
I think it's what they need to do. 2-1 gets by, but you need as many points as you can get. So getting a loss to OT, get 2 of these games to OT. I don't care, win one of them. Just get 5 points out of these 3 games, and then you, like you said, then you're at 83, and you need 9 points out of your last 8 games, and suddenly that doesn't look too hard or as hard.
All right, there's our motto: 5 to stay alive, 5 points to stay alive. I love it.
Excellent. All right, folks. Thank you all very much for joining. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind back to the beginning here on YouTube, or you can find it on your favorite podcast platform. Clay, I know you're doing a show in about 12 minutes, so people can jump over there. But do you have any parting words this evening? Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, Double Duty Gang, come join us. Come join me. No, it was great, Parker. Nice to connect once again. And I'm just thinking, I was thinking about our season predictions, where I'm pretty sure we both guessed the Canucks would finish 3rd in the Pacific. I'm pretty sure we didn't name them to win, but we're basically last year, we were talking about how nice it was that we were talking about meaningful games in March, and we're just hanging on, like you said, hanging on by a thread. And I really hope that next week we're still talking about meaningful games, but they got to do their part. Here's my dream scenario. All right. The Blues keep winning. Okay. And the Oilers go 0-12. Wouldn't that be fun? I mean, even a week ago, we were looking at maybe catching the Kings, but they've won 8 of their last 10, and they ruined that too. So, we just need St. Louis to fall apart, which is going to be tough because, man, they've got some easy opponents. But, folks, thank you all for joining. We'll be back here next Monday, same time, same place. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell if you're here on YouTube. Hit the like button, do all that good stuff. Otherwise, we will see you next time.